Today I am back at my good friend neighbor Al's house here in the Pacific Northwest. Al and I have become good friends over the last few years after we were introduced by Al's next door neighbor Patrick. And since then we've done several projects together, rebuilding Al's water wheel, his hydroelectric water wheel. It's a 12-volt system, right? Yeah. So that means we have success.
I'm happy.
We've also worked on some plumbing repairs here at his house, hiked around Mount St. Helens together. We gathered firewood for the winter. We've done a lot of things together, and through all of those experiences together, Al has shared little bits and pieces of his life story with me, and that's something that people have asked more and more about with each project that we do. Al is a very interesting man, and from what I've heard so far, he has a very interesting life story. So it's finally time to learn the story of Al. Al has sifted through his photo albums over the decades, and he's separated them out in different phases of his life. So over the next several weeks, possibly months, Al and I are going to go through those photos, and Al will be sharing some stories with us, and in so doing, telling the story of his life. Let's head into Al's house and start the story.
I'm learning things.
You're learning things?
Yeah.
Oh, I already got some photos out here.
Oh, I've been organizing for a week or so.
Oh man, this is exciting.
Can you do that submarine story that happened just before I was born?
Sure.
Yeah, my dad worked for General Electric for most of his life. He worked on submarines a lot, many years worth, mostly out of Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And he was in charge of installing all the electrical stuff, switches and turbines and engines and generators. And he went on hundreds of test dives, make sure everything was working right. And I told you about this submarine, the Squalus, that he worked on. They'd done 12, 14 test dives on it. And he was scheduled to go out on one in 1939, May 23rd, 1939. He left for work to go on a dive on this submarine. But he'd already completed all his tests and everything. He just enjoyed going on because he knew all the people, the captains and all that. And so he was scheduled to go on this dive in the Squalus and left for work. The sub went out. He was feeling sick. He had a cold or something. So he decided, well, he better not go. Having a cold in a cramped quarters of a submarine is not good. You give it to everybody else. So he stayed on the dock and watched it sail out. And not long after that, they dove, and either a valve wasn't closed or a hatch wasn't closed or something, and it sank to the bottom. And my mom was at home listening to the radio when she heard about it, that it had gone down. And as far as she knew, he was on it. And my dad tried for a long time, wandering around the shipyard looking for a phone that wasn't busy. All the lines were busy, you know, so he could call Mom and tell her that he wasn't on it. And in the meantime, she was trying to get through to the Navy Yard on her phone. Couldn't get through. Finally, he found a payphone, I believe, and was able to call her and tell her he wasn't on it.
Oh.
So he'd been freaking out for quite a while.
Oh, what a relief. Jeez.
A bunch of guys died. I forget how many. They wrote a book about it, which I gave you a copy. But if you're too busy to read, that's fine.
It's definitely on my to-do list to read The Terrible Hours.
Right. They had just invented or improved on a diving bell to rescue people from submarines that had gone down. They'd never used it before. But they brought that up from Connecticut in a day or two and rescued more than half the people that had gone down on it.
Wow.
So it was a pretty amazing story. Anyway, that was about a year later I was born.
Wow.
I'm not sure if those two are connected or not.
I bet there's some correlation there.
My parents were 44, fairly old when I was born. So I was kind of a mistake or maybe a gratitude baby.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Thanks to my dad having a cold, I'm here. There's my baby book. How many people you know still have their bracelet from the hospital?
Yeah, that's crazy.
On Tuesday, September 10th, 1940, Exeter, New Hampshire. And there's all kinds of information. How much I weighed and all that. And nobody wants to know all that.
Foot size.
How big my foot was.
First
When I
tooth.
had my teeth.
Oh, wow.
Who cares? After about 2 weeks of creeping backwards, I started to go forward. From then on, creeping like a little spider. And that's me.
So you like to crawl backwards.
I started out going backwards. Never been the same since.
So I'm guessing your mom
Yeah, my mom
kept track of all this?
did all this. Boy, she was ambitious. Where I went to school and when, all the way through high school, college actually. Wrote it all down. What girls I went out with in high school.
All that is in here, or this is just the
Yeah.
baby?
No, that's all in here. This is high school here.
That was a big thing back then.
Okay.
People
Yeah.
taking notes, diaries, things like that.
Yes.
Because I've
Didn't
heard
have
that.
anything else to do.
Yeah.
No internet then.
Yeah.
So I took to dances. Two of these I'm friends with on Facebook now.
Really?
This was back in 1956.
That's cool.
Who I took to a dance. Oh, this is baby stuff. This is all the cards that people sent when I was born.
Wow.
Yeah, I think my parents had some friends.
It looks like it. That's cool.
This is 2 months old. This is my mom.
Thank you for sharing all this out. This is really cool.
Well, this would be good for my kids to look at
Yeah.
too.
Wow, these are
6 months.
really good pictures.
Yeah, my mom had this old Kodak camera, kind of a bellows thing. Took really good pictures. Oh, and my dad was developed his own pictures.
Oh, did he?
So probably most of these are probably developed by my dad. 42, almost 2 years. I remember peeking in. My grandfather was a dentist and then also a woodworker, carpenter. He built furniture. I got a couple pieces upstairs. Can you show you what he built?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it did really nice. He built furniture out of pallets. Mom used to collect butter chips. Those all round dishes you put pads of butter on for formal dinners and all that. And she had I think, a couple hundred
Wow.
in her collection. Mostly old stuff. She wanted a place to display them. So she asked my grandfather to build her a case. And he built this for her to display the little dishes. And he did this all by hand. I think he must have had a lathe because he probably turned those and everything. He used mostly scrap lumber from pallets and stuff. I've been told. There's another chest of drawers in here that my grandfather made. It's pretty amazing.
Nice. He made this too.
He made all this. The drawers gradually get bigger as you go down.
Awesome. That's so cool that you still have all these things from him.
I used to have this in my bedroom back in New Hampshire. And this is where Dipstick lives. He was living up here. I think he fell out a couple of times because I heard crashes. And now he's moved down a level out of the penthouse.
That's so funny.
Some towels over to protect my clothes a little bit. It's 1918 in Massachusetts. I think that was where my grandfather lived. I remember that house vaguely. From what I understand, he owned about 7 apartment houses in that town. I remember my dad, when my grandfather died, my dad had to sell them all because he wasn't interested in maintaining some apartment house. I couldn't remember when my dad died. I couldn't find any births or death certificates or nothing, so I looked him up online. This is his draft card from 1918.
The things you can find on the
I
internet.
know, it's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't know all the relatives or anything. He had a brother that died at birth. I don't remember that at all. My mother's graduation from high school,
Oh.
1915. That's the only old picture I have of her, I think.
So this is your mom.
That's my mom. Those are my dad.
These two are your dad?
He was born in 1897. I think they have dates on them. And he always had boats. He was into boats.
Mm.
This was taken in 1935. Before I was born, that was one of his first boats, I think. And it got lost in a storm, from what I remember. A hurricane or something. He had it anchored on a river up there in New Hampshire. And it just disappeared. He never did find any trace of it. I think it might have been stolen. It was during a storm that it disappeared.
That's your sister? Did you say there was a big age difference between you?
Yeah, she got married about the time I was born. So I was like an only child. This is the house we lived in when I was born, in Greenland, New Hampshire.
Cobweb Cottage?
I guess that's what my mom called it. This is the aerial view of it. This is the house here on the right. And this is where I went to first grade.
Right
I
next
just
door.
walked right through the neighbor's backyard,
That's
and I was
cool.
right there. And so I went to first grade. I think this was the room right here in the corner. And we got out. I think second grade was in the front corner. And we got out earlier than the second grade. One day we got out, and two or three of us snuck over and peeked inside into the second grade room to see what was going on. And we were, 6-year-old kids laughing and giggling, and so the teacher noticed us and came to the door, and we ran out, and there were stone steps down outside the school, and I think somebody pushed me from behind. I went down the stone steps and broke my wrist, and it looked about like that.
Man.
It didn't hurt. I don't remember pain or anything, but anyway, I walked over and I sat under these bushes for a while. I didn't want to freak out my mother because I was thinking maybe it'll go back into shape, And I sat there for a while, worried about going home. Finally, I wandered home, and then instead of just walking in like I usually do, I couldn't open the door, so I was knocking on the front door on my left hand, and my mom opened the door. "Why are you knocking?" I said, "It's okay, I hurt myself." And her friend was there, a good girlfriend, and my mom freaked out. And her friend said, "Calm down, it's okay, it's just got a broken wrist." So they drove me to the hospital and put me to sleep and bent it back, and I wore a cast for quite a while.
Oh, that was
That's
first
one.
grade?
That was first grade, yeah. One of the few things I remember. I don't remember a lot about the house. I remember there was a wood cook stove like I have now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in the kitchen, hot, steamy. Everybody smoked back then, I think. I remember my godfather. My shoes were coming untied a lot, and so my godfather taught me how to tie my shoes so they wouldn't come untied. And I was showing Mom, look how easy this is. She said, no, how are you going to get them undone? I said, you just pull them like you normal. And she said, no, I don't want anything to do with that. But I've been tying my shoes the same way that my godfather taught me when I was 6 or 7 years old, and it works great. This was a room upstairs in the barn that my dad built for partying, I guess. It was probably before I was born. Yeah, I think it's upstairs room up in here.
Yeah, there's 3 windows right there.
Oh yeah, that's where they are. Yeah.
Ping pong
Table and a foosball table. Foosball's been around for a long time.
Yeah. Bar here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I think they used to party.
Old school man cave here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my dad built all that. So he was pretty handy. He was, well, anything electrical he could
Yeah.
fix because he was an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
He also liked doing all his own work on cars and building what he had time for and stuff. Kind of a handyman like we are. You know, we'd rather do it ourselves than hire anybody else. And what that poster is, looks like a drink. Oh, Hiram Walker, a little whiskey poster. Schlitz beer. These were probably, oh, it's got a date on it, 1940. Yeah. Here I am getting a little older. First grade,
Okay, first there.
fourth grade,
Fourth.
fifth grade. This one is first. 45,
Okay.
44, 45. That's my niece. She was born about 2 years after I was. So my niece was real close in age. That's my sister and her husband.
Oh, okay.
He was in the Navy, Seabees. My sister was born in 1918. She was 22 when I was born. We got married about the time I was born, so I never knew her real well until later.
Relatives here?
Yeah, this is my oldest niece, and this is my younger niece. My sister had 4 kids.
So
Dad,
that's
mom,
okay.
and sister, and me, and my 2 nieces. After first grade, there in Greenland, New Hampshire, we moved to Stoneham, Massachusetts. And I think we lived down there for 6 years. This house here.
48 to 54.
48 to 54. It was mainly because my dad was working in Boston at that time, and we were living up in New Hampshire, and it was a pretty long commute. So I think mainly we moved down there to be closer to his work. But I don't think any of us liked it because it was in a development. Just, you know,
Not much room.
houses and houses. A little further apart than they build them now, but it was still, you know, kind of the typical snows we had back then. My dad's cars, he bought mostly all Plymouths. He had to have a reliable car and get to work and all, so he'd buy a new Plymouth about every 3 years. My first girlfriend,
Alan and Jane.
it was about 1948, I guess. Summertime, we usually went to the coast or the lake or something. It was one of the first ones I remember. This was just something we rented, I think.
Okay. Paper
That
house?
house was all made out of newspapers.
What?
It was a tourist destination thing. They folded them up somehow.
Oh my
Made little
gosh.
triangles out of pieces of newspaper and then glued them together. I'm not sure if the frames were made out of newspaper, but all the walls, they were all made out of newspaper, folded up. No, this is a cabin my dad had built.
Oh.
Well, he built a lot of it himself, I guess. Yeah. That was at Long Beach on Cape Ann in Massachusetts. This was the beach. It was about a mile long. And he just bought a lot, cleared it all off, and built this house. I think he must have had some of it done. Foundation, chimney and stuff. I know he did a lot of it. This is neighborhood gang in Massachusetts. It was mostly a Catholic neighborhood. And I was supposedly Protestant. And there weren't very many of us around. So I was kind of an outcast for the first year or two that we were there. I got along okay with Catholic guys. But there was one bully. There's one in every neighborhood, I guess. He used to bully even to the other Catholic guys, kids. We used to have snowball fights. Back then, we'd pack a snowball, we'd put a rock in the middle or a piece of ice. And we were having a snowball fight in my front yard one time. We crossed the driveway, and there's 2 banks of the driveway. And we were throwing snowballs back and forth, and I caught him in the eye with a snowball with a piece of ice in it.
Yikes.
and sent him home crying. And after that, we were good buddies. We were, hey, you sent that guy home? Yeah, good for you. You wouldn't matter anything out there. Hey, you're all right. Okay, we're back in Stoneham, Massachusetts. That was my first bike. Brand new Schwinn, I think it was. I remember having to lean up against the fence to get up on it. It was a little bit high for me to start with. But once I got moving, I was fine. Oh, I'm dressed up there. Mom was probably making me go to church or something. And this is that same house in the summertime. There's not so much snow.
Not a lot of snow.
This was my bedroom, this corner here. And the center window was my closet. I had a walk-in closet with a window.
Wow.
Big closet, yeah. And then my folks' bedroom was over here. I remember one year, I don't know what time of year it was, but there was a hurricane or something came through and my folks were out, went out to dinner or friends or something and hired a babysitter. The storm hit while they were gone. There was a central stairway that went up from the front door up to the second floor, and the wind peeled the shingles off the roof. And I can remember water coming down the stairs, cascading down the stairs.
Wow.
So the babysitter got a hold of my folks. They left the phone number, I guess. And they came home as soon as they can, but I think before they got home, my dad called the fire department and told them what was going on. The fire department came out with a hook and ladder, put the ladder up and covered the roof with a tarp and stopped all the leaks. And the neighbors come out, whoa, why didn't we think of that? So 2 or 3 of the neighbors, they got their roofs covered, but the fire department ran out of tarps, so they could only do 2 or 3 of them. My dad was right on it. He knew how to get things fixed. There was a fireplace in the living room. I remember my parents had a package of Lucky Strike cigarettes sitting up on the mantle of the fireplace, and I asked, how come that's sitting up there? And they said, oh, we quit smoking and we just putting it there to remind us that we don't need it. we could quit. So I asked, well, can I have one? I was like 10, 11 years old, I don't know. And he said, sure, go out in the garage or somewhere, don't smoke it in the house. So I took a cigarette, went out there and lit it up, took about 1 puff and oh man, I choked to death. I said, okay, that's enough of that. They said, how you like that? I said, no way, nothing to do with that.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's amazing. That's one way to learn, I guess.
Yeah, but they didn't say, no, you can't have that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's great.
And they weren't filters or nothing. They were just Lucky Strikes and plain raw tobacco, no filter. Oh God, that was gross. This was a dog that my sister gave me. That we had for years and years. Pat was his name, her name. They raised Cocker Spaniels. Sister and her husband, among other things, turkeys and garden and all that. It was after one
Storm.
Yeah, this is the house. This is the view we had from the house of the whole beach there. Awesome view. We used to get some pretty good hurricanes. This is all on like a cape, Cape Ann. Massachusetts has that big cape down lower, Cape Cod. This is up to the northern part of Massachusetts on the coast. There's this little cape that goes out, Cape Ann. It's really neat. The Cub Scouts, I guess, yeah. Even in the Boy Scouts for a little while. I wasn't crazy about it. I didn't like organized stuff like that. This was one of my sister's houses in New Hampshire. This was a little shed. You can see this is the corner of the shed here. This was the house. And my niece and I were out here in the shed playing when a thunderstorm hit one time. And the lightning hit this tree right here.
Oh, wow.
And we were looking out the window of the shed right at it.
Jeez.
It came right down that tree. And it broke off a big piece. Didn't damage the house or anything, but man, that was loud and scary.
So that's the lightning tree there?
That's the lightning tree there. I think one of these split off where it's feed there. Came down. There's the view from the back of the house. There's this big reservoir. It had awesome fish in it. You weren't allowed to swim in it or anything because it was drinking water for somebody. And this was after my sister and husband got separated. My dad bought this place for her. Okay, here's the first house they built. This was right behind the place down at the beach. Oh, this, you can see the corner. House my dad had built. So that was my first structure. Yeah, it came out all right. That's me and my dog and 2 nieces. Oh, that wasn't my first structure. This was my first structure. You can't hardly see it in the sumac and the poison ivy and stuff. A little tar paper shack right there. So that was my second one, that other picture. And this was the beach after a storm. This is all seaweed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Come in. Stink. Yeah. If you can see the house there. It's up there somewhere. Now we're going back to New Hampshire. Our folks decided to build a new house. Yeah, this was after we'd lived in Massachusetts for 6 years. Decided didn't want to be in town, so Dad bought 7 acres up in New Hampshire. It's not too far from the seacoast, and not too far from Greenland where we lived before. And he built this new house, most of which I think he had done. He did all the wiring and odds and ends and stuff.
58.
This was in West Rye, New Hampshire. Back there, everybody had basements or cellars because it was so cold in the winter, and you wanted to get down below the frost line, which was 2 or 3 feet down. So most houses back then had basements and cellars. It wasn't a huge house, but it had a nice 2-car garage. And I was getting close to 16. Starting to build cars. So that worked out great. I pretty much took over the garage. Made my folks park their cars out in the driveway. There's my bedroom in the corner here. Yeah, and there were no other houses right close by.
So 7 acres?
There were 7 acres. Yeah. Went mostly down over a bank in the back. It was all treed mostly.
Is this you and your dad?
My dad and I in the backyard. It's getting close to high school, yeah, I think. Yeah, we were a little bit over 10 years here, but this would be a good place to quit or move back to New Hampshire.
I feel extremely fortunate to be the one that Al has trusted to share this information with and then cultivate it, edit it into a story that will be told on the internet. But Al expressed to me that he mainly wants to do it for his family members and his grandkids specifically because he's getting up there in age. He's not going to be around forever, so he loved the idea of sharing his story, getting it on film so that people all over the world, but more importantly his immediate family members and grandkids, will know his story and can learn from him. Even as the years go by, decades go by, his story can be told on film and recorded and be seen for a long time to come.
And you have 2 kids, right?
Yep.
So Jesse
Right there
and Molly. So I have to ask you, is your dad D.B. Cooper?
I can't tell.
She's not telling either. Well, we'll figure it out one way or another.
All right, well, that was Al's story from birth to about 10 years old, roughly. I'll be coming back and getting some more stories from Al here soon, so look forward to that on my channel. And for those of you who haven't seen any of the other videos that I've done with Al, as I mentioned in the beginning, the water wheel, plumbing, hiking around mountains, splitting firewood. And speaking of firewood, I think I'm gonna come over in the next few days and help Al split this stuff up too. So I actually have a whole playlist on my channel of Al specific videos, so feel free to check those out if you would like, and I will see you all on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.